Well, I want to thank each of you for participating. I think everybody in this room recognizes the critical role that your and other Tiger Range countries have. And indeed, I think your involvement and indeed leadership will be the key to the success. When people ask me what distinguishes this initiative from some of the others in wildlife or tiger efforts in the past, the key point that stands out to me is the active engagement and leadership and practical on-the-ground work of the Tiger Range countries. We've got some great people from scientific community, NGO community, getting some of the development partners. We've got bilateral support. But as we've seen in other areas of development, none of this works unless you get local ownership. And so I think what distinguishes this effort is the fact that each of the Tiger Range countries have developed their own plan. It's an integrated approach, and we're now at the key point of trying to support it. Nepal has been one of our best partners from the start across different governments, and I'm really delighted you've been able to maintain the momentum. It's great news about the rhino population. But I also think your report suggests the ongoing challenge we have on habitats, communities, the critical role of law enforcement, and something that this project has also engaged us with was the key role of regional cooperation. So you've seen some references to our ability to deploy some of our IDA funds, which are funds for the poorest countries. We've been able to do this because we have some funds set aside for regional efforts. And in South Asia, countries have led the way by demonstrating an overall cooperation that I hope we can build on in Southeast Asia as well. You mentioned the wildlife premium. This is an idea that I think at least the World Wildlife Fund was one of the first, if not the first, promoters of this. In the past few weeks, I've had a chance to meet with some of the people from the World Wildlife Fund on this, and I think we very much share a view, which is we have to take this concept and now put it into practical action. All of you are aware that the conference in Durban on climate change is just beginning this week. The wildlife premium was the idea of trying to build this on top of the work that was done in REDD and avoided deforestation. Now, there's so many other demands. What we believe will be critical is to show that this works. And so we've been working with the World Wildlife Fund right now on a project in Thailand with the support of the GEF, which will help develop some of the capacity and the incentives in the Western Forest Complex. And at least my understanding is that it would be wonderful to have a similar pilot in the case of Nepal. I think the Nepal WWF is an interested partner, and I think USAID has also been looking to try to see how it might support this. What we've seen in this area and in many others is good ideas are not going to get us there by themselves. We have to be able to put the idea into practice, then we have to test it, we have to learn from it, and then we have to share the experience. It's rare that anybody gets this totally right the first time. So we're trying to build in the notion of pilots to move this forward. Vietnam has really done a superb job, and I want to thank you not only for your efforts within your own country, but this Interpol conference highlighting the trafficking issue is vital. I think everybody here knows when you're down to such small numbers of tigers, probably our greatest danger right now is the trafficking and law enforcement issue. So to raise this in profile in the law enforcement community is very, very important. And early in this project, we were able to work with some of the ASEAN countries led by Thailand to build a law enforcement network. Not surprisingly, this was an issue that didn't necessarily have the full priority in this community, but what is now a powerful element is people can see this linkage to broader organized crime networks. They can see the need to link it to the intelligence systems. They can see the need to link it to their customs systems. So we're really starting to get some momentum on this. I think some of the experience in Vietnam has also suggested that you can't just treat this as a law enforcement issue, either on the supply or demand side. to really embed this in a society, you need to connect this to public health and safety issues, the types of community support that was also talked about in Nepal, and education and broader communication strategies. So it has to have the multiple dimensions. So we hope to work with Vietnam and others in Southeast Asia on some of the lessons learned. You also highlighted in the process the critical issue that I'm sure all countries and others are thinking about, which what are the resources? Well, I've mentioned some of the IDA regional funds. We've been able to also get some very good support from the Jeff on some of the particular programs in wildlife. And recall, we did put together a multi-donor trust fund. And that's one reason why this meeting is a very important one. I've had some very high-level contacts with South Korea, Britain, Australia, countries that have an interest in this, but understandably, at a time that their taxpayers are under pressure, they're trying to say, what's for real? Where will this money go? How will it be specific? And so this type of activity will allow us to go back to them and say, these are the particular things where you may be able to contribute to. And in particular, to try to build on our experience in South Asia, we're now looking at a $18 million regional IDA project for Southeast Asia, focusing on the illegal trade. You also asked about the future of the Global Tiger Initiative. Well, we have a goal. I think it's always important to set a goal. So the goal set in Petersburg is to double the population of wild tigers. That's still a pretty small number, but would still, I think, give people a great sense of accomplishment if we're able to achieve that. And so what we've seen with the Tiger Initiative is, in a way, we want to keep performing the role that we've been able to perform as a catalyst in the network. We have the good fortune of working with all the Tiger Range countries on a broader set of development issues, so we have those ties. We are in a position to try to figure out how to support them as it connects to other areas like green infrastructure, where we're doing, for example, some interesting projects in India right now. We have the good fortune to be able to work with NGOs, CSOs, scientific research community, the bilateral donors. So we really want to continue to try to play this role of mobilizing support, but also what we have found is critical in everything we do in biodiversity, but more broadly in development, is we've got to track it. We've got to understand what's working. We've got to be able to find out what isn't working and be able to check the data through. So I think some of the lessons that we're also learning from India about connecting the science and the data and the understanding of your populations is very key. India is obviously the country that is at the heart of this. When you look at the overall numbers, India is the big player. We've been very appreciative of some of the support that we've seen more generally. We know this is a topic of great debate within India because there's been various efforts over the time. We want to learn from the Indian experience and try to share that with others. And again, I think that one of the things that we can try to do is build on some of India's experience in terms of the scientific monitoring and management effectiveness. I would love to be able to come to see some of your parks, whether in March or another month. I'm not sure my wife will ever forgive me, though, so that's why I have to try to work this out from a family aspect. So I think one of the aspects that I'll just close with this point. You know, there's so many people in this room or part of this who have far greater expertise than we do at the World Bank. But where we've tried to hone our skills is trying to take the process of building knowledge, building experience in the field, feeding it back, developing a platform for others to draw on. And that's what we'd like to do in this area. So what we hope not only comes out of this conference and this work, but is the idea of trying to build this knowledge platform and, frankly, always keep in mind, as we do at the Development Institution, that the heart of this are the Tiger Range countries themselves. So we have to listen for their perspectives about where the needs are, and with your help, we'll also try to help fill some of the financing gaps. So thank you to Keshav, thank you to Rachel, thanks to all of you, and I know we've got some other participants here ready to speak, so I'll turn over